musician whose songs played in the background of your childhood but never quite defined it. You acknowledge it, you feel a pang of nostalgia, and then you move on. But then it starts happening more often. The names get bigger, the faces more familiar, and suddenly you find yourself in a world where all the legends who shaped your imagination, your tastes, your sense of self, one by one, they're disappearing. It doesn't just feel like the loss of an individual. It feels like the closing of an era. A piece of the past, once alive and vibrant, is now behind glass, untouchable, unreachable. It forces you into a reckoning. You grew up thinking these people were larger than life, immortal in a way. They were the ones who set the standard, the ones who made it seem like life was endless, like the world would always have the same color, the same sound, the same rhythm. But time, indifferent and relentless, doesn't just take them. It leaves you standing in the space they once filled. And that's when you realized what's changed. You're not the kid anymore. You're not looking up to the heroes of your youth, waiting for them to show you the way. You're the one standing in the timeline they left behind. Their stories are finished, but yours is still unfolding. And for the first time, you understand what it means to carry something forward. Because it's not just grief, it's not just mourning, it's a passing of the torch, even if no one hands it to you directly. The music, the art, the wisdom, the lessons, they don't disappear unless we let them. It's up to us to keep telling the stories, to introduce the next generation to the voices that shaped us, to honor what came before by creating something new. But it's hard. It's hard because every time another name leaves this world, you feel a little more untethered. You feel the weight of time pressing down on you in a way you never have before. You feel the gap between then and now widening. And you realize that all those years you spent idolizing these people, you never once considered what it would be like when they were gone. And then an even heavier thought settles in. Someday we will be the ones being mourned. Someday the world will move on without us too. It's a truth that comes for everyone. But when you're young, you can ignore it. When you're young, the future is just an idea, a distant thing that belongs to someone else. But as your heroes begin to fade, the reality sets in. This is your time now, and it's finite. So what do you do with that knowledge? How do you carry the weight of the past while making something meaningful in the present? How do you honor the ones who came before you without letting the sorrow of their absence consume you? That's the question we all have to answer is that sometimes we see it coming. We watch the warning signs, we hear the stories, we know the struggles, and yet when it finally happens, we're still shocked. Chris Farley was larger than life, a force of pure energy that burned so brightly you almost had to look away. But there was always something underneath, something fragile, something that made us laugh even harder because we knew, maybe not consciously, but somewhere deep down, we knew that kind of fire can't burn forever. And when the news broke, we were heartbroken. We grieved, but were we really surprised? No, not really. Kurt Cobain was the voice of a generation, and yet he never seemed at peace within it. His music, his words, his pain, it was all right there out in the open, but we still hoped, maybe even believed, that he would find his way through it. And then one day, he didn't. And even though we knew, every Nirvana fan knew all along how much he was hurting, we still felt blindsided when he was gone. That's the thing about loss. It doesn't care if you see it coming. It doesn't care if there were signs or warnings. It still hits you in the gut. It still leaves you breathless. It still takes something from you that you didn't realize was so deeply woven into your own identity. But even in that pain, even in the moments where we feel like the world is losing too much too fast, there's something else. There's a reason we feel these losses so deeply. It's because these people, our childhood heroes, our icons, our legends, they meant something. They shaped us, they inspired us, they gave us a soundtrack to our lives. They gave us a way to see the world that we wouldn't have found on our own. And that doesn't go away. Because every time you hear a song and it takes you back to the first time you felt understood, every time you watch a movie and remember why you fell in love with storytelling, every time you tell someone younger, hey, you have to check this out, you're gonna love it, you're keeping them alive. Their legacy isn't just in their work, it's in us, in the way we remember, in the way we carry it forward. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's how we move through this strange, inevitable shift. This realization that we are now the ones holding the torch. We remember, we create, we live. Because if there's one thing our heroes taught us, it's that time moves fast, and we don't get to stay forever. But while we're here, while we have this moment, we get to make it matter. We get to shape the world for those who come after us, just like they did for us. And one day, when it's our own names being spoken with a touch of sadness and nostalgia, when it's our stories being passed down, maybe, just maybe, we'll have left behind something worth remembering. this video.